Welcome back to Escape to the Magic podcast. We are your hosts, Randy, Dack, and Ryan. And this week we are thrilled to talk about the incredible Disney ride vehicle evolution. Truly, this is a magical journey through time.
Awesome. I'm excited, guys. Today, I gotta tell you, today was one of those days where just from the moment I woke up, I was like, it's gonna be a Disney day today. Like, went outside, leaving to work, go to the gym to work out. The weather was cool, and I was thinking, man, it would be a perfect day to head to the parks. It would
awesome
be.
Today was the weather in Houston, Texas was outstanding. You know what? Did you check what it was in Orlando? Because I don't think it was as good as this.
No, probably not. Yeah, probably.
But that's the thing about it. Like, we don't really care what it actually is there. We're just taking what we're experiencing here. We'll bring it with us.
Yeah. Then things started to change for the worst as I started to get online, check out the news.
You realized you weren't the only person or creature that had Disney on the brain today too.
That's right. That's right. So if you, by the time this actually hits, it'll probably be a little bit older news. But this morning, got on Facebook, looking through, my feed. And all of a sudden, people are like, why is half of Magic Kingdom closed down? Like, why are all these rides? And they're like posting, closed, Big Thunder Mountain, closed, Pirates, closed. And it's just like every single ride is closed. And I'm like, wow, that has got to be a cast member's nightmare that all those rides are not working all at one time.
And I saw multiple someones, and they were saying, oh, there's a magical electrical problem.
Right.
Which to me is incomprehensible because they produce their own electricity, right? But, I mean, what could it possibly have been?
Come to find out, cast members are doing their initial walkthrough, their first morning checks of the day, and some cast member over on Tom Sawyer Island runs into a bear in the cave.
Do you think that's in the cast? You think that's in the cast member training? What to do if you come across a bear on Tom Sawyer Island?
It's definitely not in the employee handbook.
Who do you think was more surprised, the cast member or the bear?
That had to be a moment of there's no way you're thinking about it.
My bet it's the bear. The bear is the one that's more surprised because Tom Sawyer Island closes early every day, and so he was probably there for a long time.
Yeah. Anyways, so then, of course, the internet goes wild, and now there's just been all these memes and posts and funny reels that have gone out of this bear enjoying his day as he goes through the parks. It's been a great day.
I think they finally wrangled him up and got him out sometime in the early afternoon hours.
Well, do you want to know what I actually learned about this? That there are bears in Florida. I didn't know that. I mean,
that's what my daughter said. She's like, I didn't even know there was bears in Florida.
We knew there was alligators and all sorts of other like amphibious stuff, but bears, that it just doesn't even make sense to me. The whole state is a swamp. Yeah. What are bears doing down there?
But Disney World is not too far from, I believe it's Ocala National Forest.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's where they took the bear back or relocated him to, which isn't too far from Disney. So.
Do you think he went to Winnie the Pooh first, or before or after going to Tom Sawyer?
My guess is he's over there supporting his country bear brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
He heard the rumors.
Well, my suspicion was it was Big Al, and he was kind of upset about what was going to happen. He says, "Well, I'll show these guys."
Yeah, maybe tryouts.
Yeah,
he heard there was new songs coming, so he's coming to try out. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get into today's episode. We're going to be talking about the evolution of ride vehicles. So one of the things we've pointed out before at Disney is they are just so great at telling the story. But part of that immersive storytelling experience is the actual ride system or the ride vehicle that you're going on as part of that attraction. And so I thought it'd be a little bit of fun to maybe share some stories, talk about some of our favorites, whether it's the actual ride vehicle or whether it's the ride system. So just to kind of give a breakdown, right? So if I am getting on the coaster, the car that I'm riding in, that's the vehicle, obviously. And the system is the actual track that I'm going on.
Yeah, a combination of the car, how it fits on the track, what the track is. That's, how it launches, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anyways, I thought we'd just kind of go through different attractions and maybe a little bit of history, a little bit of like speculation of what might be next, and talk about, why we love these ride systems and these ride vehicles so much.
If we look at the theme of our podcast, which is Escape to the Magic, I think what makes Disney so wonderful is that you really, I don't know how many, we have about 7 or 8 that we're going to talk about maybe.
Somewhere in there.
If you look at other theme parks, and I won't mention names, but other theme parks, when you go,
I don't want to get sued, so I'm not going to mention it.
That's why I'm not mentioning names. I mean, how many of these ride vehicles will you find at these other parks? 2, 3 tops, and we're talking about 7 or 8 just at Disney. That's probably not all of them. And I think this was what makes Disney World and Disneyland so amazing, and why it's so easy to escape there, and why we love it so much.
Yeah, what you tend to find at a lot of the other parks is you tend to find minor variations on the exact same thing, right? So a lot of the theme parks, they focus on, thrill roller coasters, from your ordinary coasters to your extreme coasters to your hyper coasters, right? Where the focus is on how fast can we go, how much can we push the body to experience something between twists and turns and inversions and all sorts of stuff. And so really the tracks, the concept of the coaster is the same. All that they really change from time to time is the seat that you sit in. And so you used to kind of have your traditional one where you'd sit down, there'd be a lap bar across you or something like that, maybe some seat belts to go with it. Then they started doing some crazy things where they would have things that drop down from around the top of you. Then they went away and they're like, oh, well, now the system will be where instead of sitting on the track, we'll hang from the track and your feet can kind of dangle. But at the end of the day, it's just another kind of flavor of the same sort of thing. And so I think that's why I'm so excited to talk about this, because what you find in these different ride systems in the Disney parks is you find genuine diversity of what it is. It's not just the same thing over and over and over again.
And so you guys are nailing it right on the head. What I wanted to focus on is 2 words: innovative and iconic. And so what of course we could talk about, we could just go right down the list of the app and identify, okay, here's this ride. But what I really want to, point out is it innovative? Meaning, did Disney really come up with this initially, or one of the first ones that were ever released, this type of ride or ride system? And is it iconic? Has it stood the test of time? Meaning, we have some on here that were opening day attractions, and they're still some of the most popular rides. So I thought that'd be fun. So speaking of that, the first one that I wanted to get into is the Autopia cars. So this was an opening day attraction at Disney. What's interesting is that the original Autopia cars were so rudimentary, right? Like just bare bones. They are the brainchild of Bob Gurr. He is like the godfather of anything that has wheels at Disneyland. Basically, I mean, I think there's a quote he has out there where he says, if it has wheels at Disneyland, I probably invented it, which is true, right? Bob Gurr, who's an Imagineer, one of the original Imagineers, just absolutely a genius when it comes to ride vehicles. But what's funny is, again, these Autopia cars, they were so basic. They didn't have bumpers. Today we have that center guardrail that keeps people on track. None of that existed in the beginning. There was no padding on the steering wheel. I don't even know if they had seatbelts. There's stories.
In 1955, they definitely did not have seatbelts.
Yeah.
Well, and if you watch video of that time, these cars were all over the track.
Yeah.
Bumping into each other, going the wrong way.
Yeah, imagine bumper cars, but not in a bumper car.
Yeah. In fact, there's stories of kids ended up in the first aid booth with busted out teeth because they had just like rammed into each other.
Some would call that the good old days.
That was the best day of their life.
I lost my tooth at Disneyland.
Probably got a free T-shirt out of it.
It was on a steering wheel. So, anyways, that any memories or fun experiences you guys have other than in today's world choking on the exhaust of the Autopia car.
The smelliest part of the park is
Absolutely.
at Tomorrowland Speedway.
I love that smell so much. I love it.
We went to Disney World, I think once or twice as a kid. And I do remember that ride being fun because when you're a young kid, I get to drive my own car.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty. Now, as an adult, that goes it goes like 7 to 8 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And there's no power steering.
The fast ones do.
The fast ones,
You're going downhill.
You're going, yeah. It's, I will say nowadays, definitely would appreciate an update.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, this was probably always been one of my favorite rides, my favorite attractions for that same reason, right? Because I've always wanted to drive. As a kid, I was like, yes, I get to do it. I get to drive. And you know what? Forget about the fact that there was a rail kind of guiding the car wherever you went. You couldn't go too far. Forget about the fact that, there were bumpers and it was really slow. And frankly, if you were too short, actually, you still weren't allowed to drive. Someone else had to drive, kind of a thing. Forget about all that. I felt like I was. And so it was the most exciting. It was one of the most exciting rides for me always. That was one that I just wouldn't miss. And by the way, I want to point out, right, so we're talking about Autopia, and that's the opening attraction at Disneyland. At Disney World, it's not called that, right? It's called something else. You remember what it's called?
Tomorrowland Speedway.
Tomorrowland Speedway, right? Which is completely phony. You're not going fast at all. Especially while you're standing out there in the sun waiting to get on a car while the sun's baking.
And they had to shorten the track to put Tron in.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Right. So anyways, it's always been one of my favorites. I agree, Ryan. I think that it is well past time for an update. Today, and I can't remember how it is at Disneyland. I know at Disney World, the Tomorrowland Speedway is sponsored by Honda. But they're the ones that provide all of the lawnmower engines to power those cars.
That's right.
Basically what it is, right?
Yeah. And it would make sense, not to get ahead of ourselves, with what they're doing to Test Track with GM, kind of renewing their partnership, that you imagine that it's probably going to go, maybe at some point, the Speedway will go electric, I would think. Maybe Honda will sponsor an electric vehicle.
I'm just surprised that we haven't gotten there already. To tell you the truth, I'm actually really surprised we haven't, because very plain and simple, when I take my kids to places now where there is a go-kart track or something like that, all the carts are now electric. Mm-hmm. They have incredible ways for them to charge and everything. So I'm really kind of surprised that it hasn't happened already, because I think it's probably a pretty seamless transition for them, all things considered.
Oh, yeah.
And with their push to be more environmentally friendly in all sorts of areas, I'm like, really? We went paper straws, but we didn't get rid of the gasoline powered cars, I mean, fair. What's going on here, guys? Fair. I don't know. Get me in that boardroom, y'all.
All right. Yeah. So Autopia was the first one on our list. The next one that I came to, just kind of maybe going a little bit in historical order for the first little bit here, was the Matterhorn. So the Matterhorn came out in 1959. Today, the Matterhorn is like, I don't even want to get on that thing. It hurts my back. It's rickety. It's this. I feel a little bit out of control. But what you have to do is go back in your mind to 1959. That was the first steel tube roller coaster, and it really kicked open the door. I mean, up to that point, all other roller coasters were wooden, right? You're talking Coney Island, those types of coaster rides. And this, again, it's another Bob Gurr brainchild, right? But this opened the door for all of our other coasters. Like everything that we can imagine spun off of the Matterhorn. And so anyways, maybe not so much the Matterhorn as far as fond memories, but just some of your favorite coasters in the parks. Just love, or that are innovative to you, for me, it was, I wrote myself a note on the way over, is Mine Train. The first time I got on Mine Train and those carts are swaying left to right, it blew my mind. Yeah. I was like, this is such a smooth. Yeah.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Magic Kingdom. It was just such a smooth, fun ride to be on.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about Matterhorn for a second, since that's where we started. I mean, outside of Autopia, this was probably one of my favorite attractions as a kid because it was a thrill roller coaster. This was one that had a height requirement, right? You know, I think it's 36 inches or so. So it's not like huge, but when you're a little kid, you know, sometimes you got to wait a little while till you get there, you know, and it was one of the faster rides growing up back then in terms of what you did. I would call it a thrill ride. It's interesting. There was a huge gap between my visits to Disneyland from basically as a child to teenager to an adult. I mean, it was probably 20 years in between almost. And when I rode Matterhorn as an adult, I'm like, has it always been this way? I remember enjoying this a lot more. I agree with you, Dack. I was like, oh, it was painful. You don't fit in the seats themselves. Right. Like there's just no space. And it was what shocked me the most was frankly how slow of a ride it was.
Yes.
Because I got on expecting a roller coaster and it was a roller coaster in name only.
Yeah, and it's really kind of like you can see where it's the elementary style of roller coaster, right? I'm going to drag you up this incline with a chain or some type of mechanism that pulls you up a certain height, and then it's just a matter of gravity taking over. And so again, it is a little fundamental or rudimentary, however we want to say it, but the reason why I have it on this list is number one, it's still in the park. Like I can't imagine Disneyland without the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
And so it passes the iconic test, but I think it also passes the innovative test because at the time
it was the
so
first.
mind-blowing, right?
Can you imagine being the Imagineers in that room? Who's going to ride this first and test it out? Because on the Imagineering story documentary, they show video of guys riding it, and you got to think at some point there were guys that maybe got a little banged up.
Yeah.
On that ride.
Sure.
Being the first steel roller coaster. Yeah. So and they don't do the mountain climbers anymore.
No.
Yodelity, you know.
Yeah, and the Skyway used to run through the Matterhorn.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I don't know, it was one of my favorites, but you know, it did lay the foundation for the great roller coasters we enjoy now, right? I mean, there's no Big Thunder Mountain, right? Without the innovation of Matterhorn. There's no Space Mountain. Okay. Right. I mean, these are the things that when we really started to have thrill roller coasters, that's all thanks to Bob Gurr sitting there. And you know, as you watch the Imagineering story, and I remember watching some of those guys do their little test things, I couldn't help but also remember Walt in his backyard sitting on a train.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, really, that's where all of this starts. Let's not forget about that part, you know. And absolutely all credit to Bob Gurr, but also all credit to Walt Disney, because he's the one that's kind of picturing like, boy, we can do some stuff here that maybe you're not going to see in other places. Yeah, we could make another wooden roller coaster, but why would we do that?
Right.
You know, and Bob realized as he's designing this, he's like, wood's just not going to cut it. Like, if we want to have the experience that we're trying to have, we've got to do something new. And that's where you get tubular steel.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Moving right along here. So the next one I had on our list was Peter Pan's Flight. So love it or don't love it, right? I don't want to say hate it. Love it or don't love it, right? Again, Peter Pan is one of those iconic and innovative designs, right? So the thing that I love about Peter Pan is the track now runs above you. But when you get on your little pirate ship and sail off, it gives you the ability to see, you know, London below you. And of course, you know, we talked about this before on one of our previous episodes. The Imagineers are using that forced perspective to make you feel like you're actually higher than what you are from the ground. But really, I think you're only like 10 to 15 feet or so off the ground. But it's just this feeling of being able to fly like Peter Pan did in the movie. And it's one of those rides that stood the test of time, where they've even gone back and said, not only are we not taking this out of the park, we're going to upgrade it and plus it year after year after year, you know, upgrade after upgrade to keep this ride in the parks. So any Any thoughts, fond memories on Peter Pan for you guys?
Well, I mean, for those that have never been on it, it's like a ski lift. It's like a ski lift.
Way of
and as I've thought about this, I know we kind of bash on this ride a little bit.
I want to, for the record, Peter Pan ranked 18 out of our 30 attractions at the Magic Kingdom.
We each have our reasons for that.
It's interesting. Partially because I ranked it really, really low. Right?
Yeah, I think I did
4
too.
out of 10. But
I think I did too.
Anyways,
yeah, but it's interesting to see, here on your notes, Dack, that it reaches approximately 17 feet above the ground, which I didn't think it got that high, and that made me think a little bit about, okay, that's actually a pretty interesting concept that they came up with. 17 feet in the air is actually that's no small feat. That's
right.
That's a pretty good distance. And as I've been thinking about this attraction, it's maybe I need to give it a little bit more credit. I wish it were longer. I wish it could go maybe twice as long.
And the queue was half as long.
And the queue was half as long.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge for this one is queue. Just it's a testament to its popularity and people's desire, that nostalgia that comes from riding the Peter Pan ride. I think a lot of people feel like, hey, if I didn't ride Peter Pan at Magic Kingdom, maybe not a lot of people in this room, but I think a lot I feel like I got to take my kid on Peter Pan.
Peter Pan was one of my favorite movies growing up.
Yeah, mine too. And then when Hook came out with Robin Williams, like that was like my favorite live action movie for a while.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I want to say, because I brought it up, but for me, when we ranked the rides, this ranked low 100% and solely due to the queue, right? This was, is the juice worth the squeeze, because it's a long, long wait for what you get out of it. But that doesn't discredit what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important distinction to make, because Ryan, you're talking about, hey, it's no small feat to go 17 feet. Like, remember, what the Imagineers did here was put you in the story, okay? Mm-hmm. You are in the story. You're not watching the story. Now you get to do exactly what we saw, Wendy and whatever her brother. You're
in a pirate ship floating through the air.
Yeah, well, and Tinkerbell sprinkled them with pixie dust, and they flew right out of their bedroom window and past Big Ben and over the moon, and you see all of that. And what's so amazing though is that the artwork inside is exactly what you saw in the movie. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like they tried to make it something different. It was the cars were little dots down there, right? Yeah. Just like you saw in the movie, and you're like, wow, I'm in it. So next time you go and watch it, you're like, I've been there.
Yeah, you feel like you're flying over London.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can beat the queue. That queue's terrible. I can't get over it. But still, yeah, props to him there, because that's a major accomplishment.
Yeah.
All right. Moving along, the next one I had is the Omni Mover system, which probably the most popular of these is, I put the Doom Buggy from Haunted Mansion. So the Omni Mover, just to kind of describe it real quickly, is basically a conveyor belt of rides, right? Different types of ride vehicles that moves you along like a chain, right? It's consecutive and it just moves you along. The one unique thing about, I would say, the Omni Mover also is that each individual car can be turned to face you whatever direction it is that they want to face you. And so that helps in a lot of ways as far as telling the story, getting the viewer, right? So from a production standpoint, in the minds of the Imagineers and Disney is like, hey, we can put these people on this continuous chain of rides, so we can push a lot of people through the ride, so it's very effective. But also we can control what they're looking at. So as I take them through the Haunted Mansion, or as I take them through the Little Mermaid story, I can turn their ride vehicle to have them face the part of the story that I want them to see in this moment. So as I go around the corner in the building, it helps the story continue without me still being stuck in the last part of the previous story that I was watching, right? So anyways, again, iconic, innovative. Innovative to me here outweighs the iconic, because just this mindset of being able to get a lot of people through the ride with hopefully little to no stoppage, right? Ideally.
Well, and your innovative part, I think, is important because let's not forget the different flavors of this ride too, right? We start off talking about Haunted Mansion, Little Mermaid, kind of the clamshell sort of traditional thing that you're picturing, but there are a lot of attractions that have a similar type of thing that maybe look a little different. Spaceship Earth, not a clamshell, right? You're kind of in a different car, but it does the exact same sort of thing. How about Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's actually the exact same thing. It is a continual moving concept, but now they kind of put you in this spaceship and there's an interactive element where you control where you spin it to, but it's the same system that was invented, but now with a different vehicle to go with it. And I wondered too, even, it might be too far to say it because it doesn't quite spin, but really the concept, I think, starts with the People Mover.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, that's where it starts, right? And the original People Mover at the World's Fair was actual vehicles, okay? If I remember correctly, it was Ford Mustangs and Lincolns, right?
That's absolutely
That's what they
correct.
had, and they pulled them on a track, and you rode in an actual vehicle kind of a thing. But that's kind of where this started was, hey, we could just keep this thing going.
And for me, I think when you talk about this particular type of attraction, I go back to the time when Walt was sitting on that bench and he was with, hey, there needs to be some sort of enterprise where a parent and a child can do the ride together.
Yeah.
And to me, these types of attractions are all about that idea. Sitting and being able to enjoy this experience, being in the story, like you mentioned, Randy, being in the story and having your child sit next to you and watching them experience this story. I think that's just magical. I think that's just a testament to Walt's vision and how the Imagineers took that vision and just, hey, what can we do with this thought of Walt's and how can we expound on this? So I think, to me, it just goes back to Walt for me.
Yeah, I agree. We talk about magical and that relationship, that interaction with your loved ones while you're there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how you get the whole for ages 9 to 99 kind of concept in there, right? It's literally for everybody because no matter how old you are or how young you are, you're able to bond with those around you from a shared experience of being transported somewhere different, right? You're leaving this Earth planet and now you're going to Neverland, or you're doing whatever it is, or you're journeying through time on Spaceship Earth. It is magical,
and it's for all ages. You can take a baby on Haunted Mansion. If you are, there are people in this world that unfortunately cannot go on a roller coaster for whatever reason. They more than likely can hop on a ride like Haunted Mansion or
Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Little Mermaid would be better for the baby. Maybe not Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to start them young. Just get them used to it.
All right. So now we're going to start to fast forward a little bit here. So I think for the most part, the parks stayed pretty much unchanged for quite a while. There was a pretty big gap there. And then insert Frank Wells and Michael Eisner. So now we're talking mid-'80s. These two guys come in. They want to refresh the parks. They want to get things more updated and more, technologically advanced. And so they actually start talking with George Lucas and trying to create a relationship there, which, of course, we know now becomes a huge part of Disney's history, right?
Yeah.
This relationship with George Lucas. But at the time, George is working on Star Wars and all of that. Interesting little side note trivia thing that I picked up as I was doing some of my research. Disney actually went to George Lucas and asked him if he wanted to be the CEO before they went to David Wells. Or did I say David Wells? Frank Wells.
The pitcher for
David
the Padres?
Wells, yeah, the pitcher for the Yankees. Before they went to talk to the pitcher for the Yankees.
I don't think he's got the arm for it personally. But.
Excuse me. So before they talked to Frank Wells and Michael Eisner, they actually met with George. Just for a millisecond, think about how that could have impacted the parks. to have George Lucas as the CEO of Disney back in 1984, 85, 87.
Listen, I don't think we'd be here today having this show. I'll be honest, right?
Either.
And the reason why, and it's because of this very topic, right? And I'm not discounting Lucas and his own visionary sense, right? But what Eisner and Wells did in the 80s in bringing true entertainment to the parks, in trying to connect with the folks that were there, in going back to Imagineering and saying, you are the stars of this show. Let us give you the resources you need and get out of your way so that you can go and do amazing things. That's what was needed. I just don't know, and we'll talk about it here, but I just don't know that George Lucas was going to be the guy to be able to come up with the Star Tours ride attraction itself.
No, I agree. And not just from the parks perspective, but also from the movie perspective, right? If you remember, this was as we're heading into the Renaissance years of Disney movies. And not to say, obviously, we know George Lucas, amazing, producer and director and all of those wonderful things that he is. But you also got to remember, they also kicked open the doors on the animation side of Disney when it came to Little Mermaid, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. That's when all of these things kicked off. So it was interesting trivia, but so glad that things worked out the way that they did from that perspective. Okay, let's get back on track. Sorry, I had a little side story there that led us off the wrong path, but we'll have an episode about CEOs. We'll do that. That could get a little dicey. Anyways.
Interesting.
All right, so it's 1984. Frank Wells, Michael Eisner come on the scene. They're trying to get innovative, and they are working with Lucas. Basically, they make a little side deal, little side hustle for Lucas, and say, basically, if we can use, for every attraction we can use that's tied to you and tied to
your IP,
we'll pay you $1 million per attraction per year. Pretty sweet deal for George.
Yeah, in the 80s that was not bad.
Yeah. So they get his permission to do that. Now, as we discussed on a previous podcast, our favorite Imagineer, it sounds like, Tony Baxter, right? He's already created the Big Thunder Mountain ride. He comes on the scene. And if you remember this story on the Imagineering story, basically Michael Eisner's son comes in and says, pitch me what you got. And so Tony Baxter's like, great, my job, my sense of living is relying on a 12-year-old boy, and I got to figure out how to make him happy. Well, he does it, right? He comes up with this idea of Star Tours, which was a simulator ride, right? So they figured out, hey, if we get in a simulator, we can put a screen on, we can find the right footage of Star Wars, we can move the vehicle slightly to the right, left, up, down. They had to dial it in so that people weren't like losing their lunch on the ride. But eventually they figured it out. And now, fast forward into the 90s, every mall in America had a simulator ride in it, right? So again, here's that iconic and innovative thought process that literally changed. I'm going to bash on Universal right now. Universal would not exist without simulator rides, it feels like, because all they have is high-speed coasters and simulator rides. But it all started really right here. Again, Disney opening up that door for simulator rides and creating that process. So thoughts?
Yeah, I can appreciate the simulator ride. To me, it's a vomit fest. Universal, I love Universal, but yeah, you're right. They have 4D simulator rides and they have thrill coasters and not a lot in between. But Star Tours to me, yeah, and I forget, they went to a company to obtain the technology for that attraction, and I can't remember exactly which company they went to. It's on the Imagineering story. But
I think it was some aerospace company.
Yeah, it's on these what do you call them? My mind's drawing a blank.
Flight simulator.
The flight simulator, yes. So the technology is amazing. And I mean, Randy, to hear you talk about how it does not make you as sick now as it used to, that ride always makes me sick. It feels like there's no air conditioning in there.
Oh,
well, there's not.
I mean, I go on, I come out looking green.
Listen, I'll tell you just a quick story, and I know I've done a lot of talking, so I apologize. But so my girls, I wrote it once, barely made it off. My wife and my girls are just like, the next time we go, they're just, you got to go with us, Dad. You got to go. So just like you're talking about, no AC in there. I'm just like white knuckling the, armrests, sweat, like literally is just pouring off of me. I'm doing everything I can to keep it in my body. And like literally as soon as those doors open, I'm mowing over little children, old ladies, right for the trash can. Cause it just destroyed me. Like it got me so bad.
Done did tore you up. Shoot.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, and from that moment, I've swore off Star Tours. I can't trust it.
Well, I think the part I want to focus on here is, well, there's two parts to it. Number one is this. There's no other attraction in any of the parks, any of the Disney parks that is exactly like Star Tours. So this is, again, this goes, I think, to the point that we made at the beginning of this show, which was what a lot of theme park companies do is they take the same thing and they just kind of repurpose it, repackage it. Okay. And I'm not knocking on Universal, but Universal has a whole lot of attractions that is exactly the same attraction, just with a different IP, so they just put a different suit on it. Okay. Star Tours is the only one that's just like Star Tours. There is nothing that is completely like Star Tours where you get on and you are in this group and you're flying through the spaceship. And so what did Disney do to keep it fresh and relevant? Well, now they've got new scenes, new adventures, so that every time you ride it, you could be getting something a little bit different. You're never going to just keep doing the same thing over and over. And this is what gives it such a unique advantage over a traditional roller coaster, because every time I ride Big Thunder Mountain, I know what's coming next. I know where that goat's at.
Yeah. Okay.
Every time I ride Space Mountain, even though it's in the dark, I know where the turns and the drops and everything are. I've ridden it so many times. The simulator here, you get to do something different where if you ride it back to back, you could get two different experiences. And their advantage has been that they've been able to keep it fresh and continue to add content to it now. So now that the newer generation of Star Wars fans, the trilogies they have grown up with, there's elements of those that have been able to be incorporated into it. And I just think it's really unique. I also think, though, and I want to talk about throwing up for just a second, because it used to make me do that a lot. And I don't wonder that the improvement in the technology, you've got better projection systems, right? You've got smoother frame rates and everything like that. I don't wonder if, for me personally, that's helped my motion sickness, because my motion sickness is largely ocular driven, right? Mm-hmm. There's a disconnect between my eyes and my stomach and my brain on some of the motion. And by introducing better technology to show me what I'm seeing, all of a sudden I just don't feel it like I used to, That's
interesting.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
And, and also with that attraction, the queue area is really, really cool. I will say that.
It is.
You feel like you are in
It is.
Star Wars.
I still won't get on it without a lightning lane. Because you can usually grab a lightning lane right at the time you want to get on it, so that you can skip the line and just grab another lightning lane immediately when you get on.
And most times that I have been there usually is a time of the day where the wait is 10 minutes.
Or less.
Honestly. Yeah.
And so just going to, like you said, just again, super quick, the genius of Tony Baxter, right? The genius of Tony Baxter is like, hey, we're going to do this ride. It's a Star Wars ride. But instead of going out and saying, oh, we're going to put you on an X-Wing fighter or one of these, ships that you see. No, his thought process is you're going to be on some transport vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you're at the airport. And that's the fun thing about the queue is you're going through, you're seeing luggage, you're seeing, droids working on different things and so forth. And so it's supposed to be this like just, hey, we're going to Hoth for skiing or whatever. Right. And then all of a sudden, story turns, right? And now you're in this adventure. And again, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. you're in the adventure, right?
Yeah.
You're not watching Luke Skywalker. You're not watching Han Solo. You are in the adventure with C-3PO, who's freaking out, and all this is going on around you as you ride on the ride. So again, it just goes back to the genius of some of these guys that, I'm a huge fan of, all these Imagineers as they come up with these concepts and these thought processes of really immersing you in the story. Okay. All right. We're taking way too long because I think it's just so hard because we love these rides so much. So just super quick, a spin-off of this simulator ride was the Indiana Jones dinosaur. And I think there's another Indiana Jones adventure in Tokyo or Disney Sea where the ride vehicle was created. So this is kind of a fun backstory. They went... So we talked about all these simulator rides showing up in the malls in the 90s. They went and grabbed one of those, put it on the back of this vehicle, blindfolded some, guys to ride in the truck, pumped in sound of Indiana Jones and, Sala and all of these things, and got this ride vehicle to go down the road and simulate some of the movements and so forth of Indiana Jones. They loved it, and so boom, here comes, one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best ride vehicles. We've talked a lot about systems, but this is an actual vehicle. I mean, it moves right to left. It shakes when it sees the snakes as you're going through the Indiana Jones ride. It's speeding up, slowing down, all of these things, and it allows for such a fun adventure as you go on Dinosaur and Indiana Jones, at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And again, they put you in the story. You see Indiana Jones off in the distance, but you are playing the role of going through the attraction. So same with Dinosaur. I forget what's the you're trying to what are you trying to find in Dinosaur? I forgot.
The Iguanodon or something.
Yeah, you're trying to find some fake dinosaur.
You're trying to find some fake dinosaur. So
by traveling through time.
That's right.
And then the big meteors come and wipe out all the dinosaurs, and you're trying to now beat that, getting back. You don't get to take your dinosaur back.
Yeah, that's right.
Just for the better, because they need to stay dead. Anyways, but that's not the point. Again, going back to the Indiana Jones part is how they bring you into the story, right? And who's the narrator talking to you through it? It's John Rhys-Davies, right? Good old Sala himself is the one that's kind of coaching you through it and like, Indy, come along, my friend, right? And I just, it's just so awesome. And you get to see all of that unique stuff. I'm excited about the potential of that coming to Animal Kingdom. As much as I love the dinosaur ride, I do think that the Indiana Jones flavor of it, and by the way, it's the exact same ride, just different IP skinning it. I do think that's going to add a lot. I just think that's a great idea. But it's a unique vehicle. It gets all of the senses at a certain point, right? And can simulate things to where even you think you're moving faster than you are. I mean, it seems like you're going really fast because these hydraulic rams underneath it are like lifting it up and pulling it down and lifting it up. And it is so cool.
Yeah. There's one point where you're supposed to be going like downstairs.
Yeah.
And you actually feel it like shuddering and rumbling like you're going downstairs. Obviously, there's no stairs, but it's just such a great vehicle and such a great system. Okay. Sake of time, let's keep moving. The next one I had is the trackless ride system. So for this one, lots of examples, right? But the first was the Hollywood Tower of Terror.
My favorite ride.
Yeah, great ride, amazing ride. Scares the
It's your favorite ride too, right, Dack?
Yeah,
It's your absolute favorite.
Absolutely hate this ride.
You never miss it.
But what it is just so innovative, right? So basically what they do is they take these magnetic strips, they put them in the flooring, and they lock in this vehicle to these magnetic strips and so it allows it to not have any sort of track system. Mm-hmm. So the floor is completely smooth. It creates this element of surprise and not knowing where you're going, and it's just so smooth. But yeah, and then as far as other rides in the parks, it's just taken off, right? So Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railroad, that's a trackless system. I'm trying to think. Ratatouille, another trackless system. Just within the parks, it's just such a great...
Star Wars Rise of the Resistance.
Rise is another great example. I think Rise is where it works the best because you're supposed to be on a Star Destroyer anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so that nice, slick concrete that they create these trackless systems on, it just does such a great job of hiding where you're going next. And the R4, R5, I can't remember.
And that, and that particular system gives you a lot of options. If you look at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, that's a tongue twister. There's a scene in there where Minnie is directing you as you dance. Daisy. Sorry, Daisy.
Conga.
The conga. And that really, let's be honest, that can only be done with a trackless vehicle.
Yeah.
The way that conga moves.
Well, and what's really cool about it too, by the way, is you don't always end up in the same order that you leave on. So Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you are in this train car procession, and then it all gets crazy on the Runamuck Railway, right? And your cars kind of split off as you go in different spots. And you would just think that, we're all just going to get back in the same order. No, I've been in there so many times where I was right behind Goofy. Now I'm like 2 or 3 cars back. And it's because it's smart to know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But just put it all back together. Sometimes you end up in the same spot, sometimes you don't. But the genius of it is that it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, let's not forget about Tower of Terror 2, because there was a second component to this that was very, very unique, which was, how do we make an elevator do the exact thing it's designed to not do?
Right.
Right? Which is,
hence my love of it.
Yeah. And that's what they did. They went to the elevator companies and they said, "Hey, we need you to design an elevator that will drop." And they're like, "Why would you do that?" And this is where a lot of the discussion in my family comes back and forth, because they're all like, "Oh, I hate free dropping." I'm like, "You're not free dropping. You're being pulled. You're literally being pulled." And there's people in my family, they'll listen to this episode. They're like, "No, you're wrong." They don't believe me. Anyways, I watched the stuff. It's true. You were being pulled.
And no ride is exactly the same. It's different every time.
It's a different variation every single time, but it's able to simulate sensations that give you the excitement, the adrenaline, the fear, all of that at once. But you should know always in the back of your mind, I'm completely safe.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
You're completely safe.
No, Lizard brain will tell you you're not, but real brain should step up someday.
You are holding on for your dear life.
No.
My hands are in the air.
My hands are in the air. Hey, when you were being shot up and then immediately get pulled down, and you were weightless for
you're
1 to 2 seconds.
Yep.
That is the best feeling.
You come up off your seat, and your seatbelt's the only thing holding you down. It's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so
Dack is sweating.
Yeah. I am just terrified of this ride. But every single time I let you schmucks talk me into getting on it. And one time, I think we were with my brother or what. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I get talked into going on it. I'm hating it the whole way. My wife had secretly brought on a bottle of water and uncapped the lid. And so as you're being pulled up and being dropped, well, not dropped, pulled up and pulled down, this water, and I'm in panic mode, right? Like my brain is not functioning the way it should normally function, where logic still is in play.
This is excellent.
It's out the window.
I love this story.
So I'm freaking out, right? Like water's falling on me. I'm going up and down in the air. It was like the worst. I'm freaking out.
I love everything about
where's
this
the water
story.
coming from? Everybody on the train car or whatever that cart is called is laughing their brains off at me, like just dying, because here's this full grown man absolutely losing his mind on this ride. Anyways, every time I go, Pete, like I've had cast members. We were at Disneyland, right? Were you there with me at Disneyland? Cast members like, "You okay there?" And I'm like, "No, just close the doors and let's get this over with." Like every time I go on this ride, I have to like talk.
But you'll do Guardians of the Galaxy at
love
Disneyland.
Guardians. Yes, I love Guardians.
This is where Ryan and I look at each other as like this whole story makes no sense. It's the same ride.
It's the exact same ride.
Is the
different background.
Yeah.
This is the argument between the three of us. But I don't know what
Maybe
it
it's
is.
the Twilight Zone you're afraid of.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know. For whatever reason, Guardians in Disneyland does not do it to me like Tower of Terror.
Okay.
Hey, you guys should love that I'm willing to go on it. All right, here we go. Last couple of ones that I have on my list. Just real quick, Soarin'. Again, if you've seen the Imagineering story, we keep referencing it because they talk about some of these iconic rides. Soarin' was a new concept discovered by or put together by, his name's escaping me.
Mark Sumner.
Mark Sumner, right? Goes home. This is a famous story in Disney lore, right? He goes home over Thanksgiving break, puts together his kid's erector set, figures out, hey, if I create this little motion vehicle that will hang glide people up, I can put 3 rows of people, we can crank it up, and we can put them in front of a big screen. Again, part of that simulator. You start to see now how different rides start to bleed over into other rides. But again, the innovative thought process of putting them on this system that rolls you up in front of this giant screen. And then, of course, the Imagineers plus it, get some fans blowing on you so you feel like you're hang gliding. Smell it, sir.
Get some smells.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best parts. Is they start pumping in different smells as you go through different views of the movie that you're watching. So it's, anyways, love Soarin'. Love Soarin' over California. Super excited that they're bringing it back for a limited time at Disney World, but just a great ride.
If I were to give you guys the same erector set, do you think you could build the Soarin' model?
Absolutely not.
No way. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
You would have all the same pieces and parts that Mark Sumner had.
I think
Could you even get close?
That's why Imagineers are special people. I mean, I'm serious. That's why they're special people, because you can look at something and be like, what am I going to build out of this? Oh, look. Hey, guys, I made a new attraction, right? Say what now?
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the Imagineering story, they show the erector set model in there, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And this is an attraction that hits on all of the senses except for taste, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it hits all of them. Sight, sound, touch, right? It's all
Smell.
right there. Smell.
Yeah.
That's amazing to be able to put that all into one thing. And most importantly, by the way, and I'm sure it's because of patents, but I've never seen anything like this anywhere else. No one's even tried to do anything.
Yeah, you're right.
Like this, which is good because they'd screw it up. I'm sure of it. But that's the thing is, usually someone invents a roller coaster and someone's like, well, I'm going to make a faster roller coaster. No one's trying to recreate Soarin' because you just can't. You just can't do what they're doing here and capture it the same way.
And it's such a beloved ride. I'm surprised that nobody has tried to replicate that. And maybe you're right. Maybe I'm
sure there's some patents going on, but by the way, all the imagery that you see, the film, like they captured that on their own, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing. That's all their own IP. It's not like they went and licensed some stuff off Shutterstock. Although I will say some of that video needs bad updating at this point, so maybe they should. But
it is time for an update.
And that's what I hope. I hope by bringing Soarin' over California back, that this is a chance for them to really refresh the things, because I'm so tired of flying into Epcot of 1992.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't even know what that park is. I don't recognize anything about it.
Okay, so that was my last real one that's not an updated or a combined version of one of these other rides. But I thought I'd throw out just a couple of other honorable mentions, rapid fire, just so that we mention them and not leave them off, because there's someone screaming at their car speaker right now, like, you forgot Test Track and Radiator Springs Racers. No, we didn't. Those are our honorable mentions. I don't know that they're necessarily innovative or iconic, but they are amazing ride vehicles and fun ride systems. The other one that I had is the what I call, I don't know what the official Disney name is, but these interactive 3D track rides. So like your Web Slingers, Toy Story Mania, to me, the first time I got on Toy Story Mania was just so fun.
Yeah, blew my mind.
It blew my mind
that
I'm watching this image that I'm shooting as I pull on this string of this little...
And there's a reaction. Like, I still, to tell you the truth, I still can't get as well-versed in video games as I am, okay? I mean, think about this. This is like Duck Hunt on steroids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And it's remarkably accurate.
And everybody's doing it all at the same time, and there's even an interaction and crossover. Wow. And then it keeps track of who you are and where you are in the game as you move along. Amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, but there's got to be a couple hundred people on the ride at any given time, right? And it's just tallying, like to your point, it's tallying all these scores. It's interacting with all of these people. And what the genius of it is that you could have been playing video games all your life. You could be grandma and grandpa and have never played a video game once. And anybody that gets on that ride can just pull that little string and have fun and get off. And the gamer loves it because he's competing. Like you guys are.
Let's not kid ourselves. It's a competition.
Yeah, you guys are kicking my trash.
At least between Ryan and I, it's a competition.
Yeah,
But
Dack's always third place.
I'm with grandma, who's never apparently played a video game in her life. I can't seem to score any points.
Yeah, grandma beats Dack too. So.
Yeah, grandma's beating me. But it's still just like, and I could turn around and get right back on it and ride it again.
Yep.
It's so fun.
Well, my arm needs a rest for a minute, but still.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just real quick, let's just kind of close out with some thoughts on, now we've talked through all of these ride vehicles, their ride systems. I know we're up against the clock. We're running a little long tonight, but where they start to take different concepts of these different iconic ride systems and they mash them together. So you brought up, first one that came to my mind, you brought up earlier is Rise, right?
Yeah.
So you have the trackless system in the ride vehicle. You have simulators going on all around you.
Yeah, you already mentioned the whole transport idea, and there's a transport system in that attraction.
Yep. Yeah.
They put you in a drop tower.
And it's a simulator transport, right? Because you've got the screens going on. I want to say this. Rise is undoubtedly, it's the perfect ride. Because it literally takes the best of everything they've ever invented and puts it into one, minus a tube roller coaster. There's no tube roller coaster.
Right.
That's the only thing that's missing, right? But they up it by making it a virtual drop instead. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. It really is.
Oh, we can't not talk about this attraction and not mention our 3 to 4 day trip we had a couple of years ago, where we got to experience this attraction for the first time back before they did a virtual queue. It was waking up at 4:30 in the morning and getting to the park with everyone else and trying to get into the park first.
Or at a park that didn't open till 8:30 technically.
Yep.
But because there were so many people, they opened at 6.
Yep. And then able to get that attraction and then going on it for the first time. I still will never forget, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's not done it, but there are some moments where my jaw literally dropped and was completely blown away by what my eyes were seeing. Yeah. When you get on the train, like, I mean, first of all, you don't even know that the attraction has actually started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably 25 to 30% into it before you realize, oh, we actually started this a while ago.
Yeah.
The story has started. We're on this ride. Okay, what's going on? And then some things happen and doors open and you just witness things that, like you said, Dack, all this technology and ideas they have put together to create this sensory overload that your jaw is just drop.
I don't know what was more exciting. So we go on this trip just to kind of, retell the story a little bit. We go on this trip. The three of us were there a couple of days, I want to say, beforehand. And then James, if you remember, our buddy, joined us. We were like little 4th grade girls. We were so excited to have James experience this for the first time.
Yep.
It was just so mind-blowing. That's the only phrase that comes to my head when I think about this, is just how innovative and how crazy it was the first couple of times to go on it.
And I'll pivot just a little bit on this because I felt the same way when I rode Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run the first time.
Yes.
I couldn't comprehend when I got off that I really just flew the Millennium Falcon. Like I did, right? Everything we did something as part of this experience, and our experience was unique compared to other people as a result of it. I remember having the same experience the first time I rode Avatar Flight of Passage, right?
Yes.
There was something so unique about this that I'd never done it before, that you get off and you're like, you can't recreate that. And what the Imagineers have done, this is probably my final thought on the whole thing, what the Imagineers have done and continue to do is each time something comes out, they level up, right? Mm-hmm. Ratatouille is not my favorite ride, but it is absolutely unique in terms of, and Minnie and Mickey is very similar in this, but Ratatouille is so unique in all of the things that it combines from the trackless simulator now.
Right.
Now you're not just trackless, but you're in a trackless simulator to a certain extent because they add these 3D screens in there that make you think that something else is going on. And then the first time I rode Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, guys, I just, man, I get a little teary just thinking about it, how excited and how happy I was. And we got off that ride. We were there for Kayla's 40th birthday party is the first time we did it. And so this was an adults trip. And we got off of it and it was virtual queue. And I immediately got out my phone, pulled the app. I'm like, is there any possible way I can go on it again? And that's when I discovered, I can buy my way on.
Yeah.
And we just did it because we were like, yes, more, And I still, every single time, all of those attractions, every time I do it, there's not a part of me that doesn't get off and is still surprised. Like, how did they do that? Mm-hmm. It's so amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for me is like, again, now the culmination of all of these innovative rides as they come together in a Cosmic Rewind, in a Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, in a Rise. It's just so amazing to experience all of these different systems at once. I mean, again, going back to the Smuggler's Run, just the thought process of like, again, I get a unique experience, and so do 50 other people that are on the same ride at the exact same time. And I don't know if you've ever watched one of those peel back the curtain documentaries on how they created this thing, but it's just, again, it just speaks to the genius of these guys that are sitting up in that Imagineering offices and, dreaming up these ideas and then saying, well, I don't know if we can do that. Well, let's go back to the Walt, right? Let's figure it out. Right? I don't know if we can do this, but we're going to find a way to make it happen because it's a phenomenal idea.
Sorry, the technology doesn't exist. Oh, well, we're going to make it exist.
Right, yeah, we're going to invent it. And so that's just so amazing. Anyways, Ryan, your final thoughts on this?
No, I think just going back again to Walt's vision. This was a man who really just wanted to experience things with his kids. And we go from that moment in time to where we are now. And I'm excited for what the future holds. I mean, like you said, these Imagineers, they're guys in a room thinking stuff up. That's their job. And they're thinking of the next wave of technology right now. And who knows what's gonna come down the pipe in the next few years. But it's exciting because it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be great. So.
Well, cool. Do we have time for a magical scenario?
Of course we do. How could we end without a magical scenario? And I think this week that's brought to us by Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll see if this is a legitimate magical scenario. So, kind of speaking of video games, so I was thinking today. So I don't play a lot of video games now. I used to play, games like Madden back in the day, maybe a little Call of Duty back in the day. I don't play video games that much at all anymore, except the occasional Fortnite.
Okay.
My brother who lives in Arizona will hop on, wives are out doing something, kids are at a friend's house, Hey, it's 8 o'clock on a Friday night. What are you doing? Let's play a little Fortnite. Okay. It got me thinking about, and this just may be a lame scenario here, but I was thinking, all right, what if you were in the Magic Kingdom and there is a zombie apocalypse that's about to happen?
What is happening?
Okay, so here's a little backstory. So the strategy that my brother and I implement in Fortnite is not to go head on and start attacking people. We're going to go run and hide.
Okay.
We are finding our hiding spots, and that's where we're going to set up camp. And usually we can make it to the final 3 or so. So I was thinking, if you had a Fortnite type scenario, but it was during like a zombie apocalypse where you had to hide somewhere in the Magic Kingdom to avoid being hunted down, where are you going to hide? Does that make sense?
Yes. As crazy as that sounds.
I mean, we could have left all the zombies and Fortnite stuff out and been like, where's your favorite hiding spots in Magic Kingdom?
Yeah,
but all right, that's fine. I get it. I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you where I'm not going to hide. The caves on Tom Sawyer Island. The Bears already got that one. Okay? Bear wins that one.
Well, here's the deal.
That spot's out, boys.
Okay.
Man, I got to think about this a little bit. I think if I don't know what the status is now of this area in the park, but back in Splash Mountain, as you go way back there and you kind of go under the little train station, not station, but bridge there. You're in the furthest part back of the park. There's got to be some good hiding spots back in between Big Thunder and Splash Mountain. Of course, now it's probably all under construction, and I'd go back there, and the walls would be all up, and then
The walls are up.
Then my brains would be eaten by the zombies.
Oh, brains. How many places we're just supposed to pick? One place?
Yeah, just a place. Yeah, if you had to hide somewhere.
You know where I'm hiding? I'm hiding, and actually you could pick. I'll give you one of two, but it's the same sort of thing, right? I'm going to go hide in the AT-AT in Rise of the Resistance.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Or if I can't hide in that one, I'll go hide in the AT-AT outside Star Tours. Okay,
Nice.
either
Up
one.
with the Ewoks.
But I'm getting up high.
You're in an elevated position.
Here's the thing. One thing we know about zombies, they can't climb. Okay? they have to kind of form the human wall, and they're just going to be too lazy to realize I'm going to be up there. So that's where I'm going to hide.
I like it.
That is
I didn't even
genius.
think of that.
Yes.
So my thought would be to hide inside Pirates of the Caribbean on the ship
Barbosa.
with Barbosa.
Can zombies swim? I mean,
I don't think they can.
you'd probably be okay. Maybe that would make you okay at Tom Sawyer's Island, but I don't know. I mean, you got to fight the bear.
You got to fight the bear for that hiding spot. I got to be honest. I didn't know there were caves on Tom Sawyer Island. I know there's some hiding spots, but I didn't know there were actual caves.
Are we friends?
I've been to Tom. I mean, I actually like Tom Sawyer Island.
Apparently not.
You got the fort. Hey,
It's like it's the most important part about
that's
it.
another hiding spot is the fort on Tom Sawyer
yeah.
Island.
Yeah, you're boxed in on the fort. I wouldn't hide there. Once you're in, there's no escape,
Yeah.
and there's lots of different ways to probably come at you, but no way to get out of it. You know.
Now, hey, if we're being serious about this, if you could somehow hide in the Kilimanjaro Safari on the Serengeti with the lions, they could protect you.
Yeah.
Just saying.
You're out of your mind.
I know.
Oh. Yeah, go hide with the gorillas instead. Okay.
See how that works out for you when they rip your arms off of your sockets.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I do like the Pirates of the Caribbean idea. You know, I might go hide in the Millennium Falcon itself.
Yeah.
You know, somewhere there. I can find a lot of places I think I would hide in Hollywood studios. I'm not sure in other places so much where I would go.
I mean, the top of Tower of Terror, it'd be hard for people to get up there. Zombies.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the top of Splash Mountain.
You'd have a quick exit.
You go to your laughing place.
Get it by the goat.
I think we need to end it there.
Yeah.
The laughing
it's getting
place.
late.
Oh my gosh. We're getting slap happy over here. Awesome.
This was a fun episode.
Yeah, great
Appreciate
episode.
your time, Dack,
Yeah.
putting that together.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't too much of a history lesson. Hopefully we had some fun along the way.
But hey, listen, check us out on all of our social media platforms. You have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at Escape to the Magic Podcast. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a review. We did find out recently that you cannot actually write a review on Spotify, but you can on Apple. So if you give us a review on Apple, we will try to read it on the show.
And you can on Google as well.
And you can on Google. So, and we try to drop one of these every Wednesday. So, subscribe to it so it drops automatically on your phone.
Best way to listen.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.